The Donora fluoride fog devastated the town of Donora, Pennsylvania from the time the fog first rolled in on October 27, 1948, until it rained on October 31st, 5 days later. Donora, Pennsylvania is a small mill town on the Monongahela River 24 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. The deadly smog was caused by sulfur dioxide emissions from the town's zinc works and steel plants. These emissions were made more severe by a temperature inversion, which trapped the toxins in a mass of warm, stagnant air. This mixture of pollutants and fog formed a thick, yellowish, acrid smog. Sulfuric acid, nitrogen dioxide, fluorine, and other poisonous gases were caught in the air, choking the residents and darkening the afternoon sky. U.S. Steel's Donora Zinc Works did not take responsibility, and in fact did not close down until the fifth and final day of the deadly smog. During that time, the impact on human health was evident. The smog caused coughing and signs of respiratory distress, eventually leading to illness and death by asthma. 20 residents died, and a third to a half of the 14,000 residents were sickened. The death rates in Donora were still significantly higher than in nearby communities 10 years after the incident had passed. The wider impact on the region included the death of 800 animals. The smog also caused an economic decline due to loss of crops and livestock. Luckily, nearby Pittsburgh escaped the deadly conditions, probably due to cutting back on the use of coal for fuel at that time. Although the effects of the smog were obvious, the zinc plant was never held responsible due to a possible cover-up effort by the U.S. Public Health Services. Even though pollution was obviously a contributing factor, the government listed no single substance responsible and largely blamed the deaths on the temperature inversion. Years later, autopsies found that fluoride levels were 20 times higher than normal in residents, and thousands more residents could have died if the smog had not ended. This single event forced the public to recognize the short-term effects of pollution. This was a large trigger for the clean air movement in the United States and even contributed to the first Clean Air Act, which forced the Environmental Protection Agency to enforce regulations to protect the public from exposure to airborne contaminants. Thanks to these efforts, the emission levels of lead have dropped 98%, sulfur dioxide has dropped 75%, and carbon monoxide emissions are down 32%. This inspired the town of Donora to adopt the slogan, "Clean air started here," on town monuments and historical museums.